Hi, everyone, and welcome to Timely Topics. My name is Dr. Jen Reinhart, and I'm with the statewide team for school improvement along with IU 13. Throughout this series, I'll share information, tips, and resources to help guide you through each phase of the cycle of continuous improvement. Thanks for joining. Today's Timely Topics for school leaders is focused on meaningful self-assessments for school improvement. During this video, I'll explain the Assess Your Needs phase of the cycle of continuous improvement, provide guidance for where to start, highlight the variety of data sources to include, and I'll direct you to some specific resources and next steps. Before we do that, I want to bring us back to the school improvement planning through line so you can see where the needs assessment fits in throughout the process. In our last video, we talked about determining your vision for learning, and your vision for planning. That vision sets you up to know now we need to collect evidence to determine where we are with that vision. We're going to collect that evidence in order to assess our needs and then understand our root cause. Once we identify our root causes, it helps us to determine what we're prioritizing and then select an evidence-based strategy to address those prioritized challenges. Another way to look at that is our desired state is our vision. Our current state is determined by our needs assessment, and we use that information to create a plan that we're going to implement and monitor. Let's look at a real-world example before we get started. When I was beginning my career, I lived in a new town and I had a new job. I was so excited to go to work. And on my way to work, I got a flat tire. Luckily, my dad prepared me for this. I was able to get out, change my tire, and proceed on my way to work. But what I noticed after getting my tire repaired after work, on the next day, the same thing happened. I go through the same process, get my tire repaired. The next week, the same thing happened. This was occurring over and over again. Eventually, I used all the data that I was gathering and realized perhaps my tires are too old. And so I bought new tires. Again, we got a flat tire. I continued to refine the data that I was collecting and realized that I was getting a flat tire just a few blocks after I was driving by a construction site. So when you understand the underlying root cause, in my case, my route to work, it allows you to address those underlying problems, not just the symptoms that you're seeing on the surface. We're going to use this as we ground ourselves in the cycle of continuous improvement. Wanted you to see where Assess the Needs falls within the full cycle. So we've set the direction and now we're shifting into Assess Your Needs. Throughout the first 3 phases of the cycle of continuous improvement, there are several key planning activities. I have the ones highlighted that we're going to address in this very short video today, and the timeline that you want to consider for doing these activities. Keep in mind that you gather and analyze school data all across the year, and you're going to use all of that information as you enter into your needs assessment. Today's video is just an introduction, and I'll point you to some areas to get more detailed information. In our last video, we talked about establishing teams as you thought about your vision for this planning work. Today, we're going to talk about the work that the self-assessment team does. The self-assessment team may be your full steering committee, or it may be a portion of your steering committee. Also, we talked about establishing structures and systems. Having the space to do this work, whether that be virtual or in person, is important, as well as the organizational tools that you have. You will be gathering a lot of different sources of evidence and understanding how you're going to organize all of those data points is going to make or break your success of a needs assessment. In addition, the use of protocols and agendas will really help your team stay on target. Assessing the needs actually means assessing how you're implementing the Pennsylvania Essential Practices. During the Assess the Needs phase, you're including voices of students, families, educators, and administrators. You're analyzing root cause to address the problem, not the symptom, and you're going to determine your focus for planning. So, what is a needs assessment? It's a systematic process where you identify your strengths and your challenges within the context and constraints of your organization. A needs assessment allows you to dig deeper to discover the root causes. It goes beyond just some surface level data into different sources of evidence to really help you explore those root causes. It's a thorough examination, not just of your student achievement, but of your practices, your processes, and the routines that you have in your school that do impact teaching and learning. And a needs assessment is a perfect opportunity to explore equity considerations of the student groups in your organization. Here are a few guiding questions as you prepare to do this work. I'm going to help you with some of them. In particular, what data is going to allow you to assess your student academic achievement, your student engagement, their readiness to learn? How about your instructional quality and school climate? Consider who is going to be responsible for collecting and organizing the data. The collection and the organization of the data really can make or break your needs assessment. You have a limited amount of time for this work. You want to make sure that everything is organized and clear before you get started so that it simplifies the process. Also, consider what type of support you may want to facilitate this comprehensive needs assessment. In this process, you get into some challenging conversations. Are you, as a school leader, ready to facilitate those conversations, or would you like someone to support that work? Okay, let's talk about where to start. We're going to start actually with considering the Pennsylvania Essential Practices. The essential practices, all 18 of them, are categorized within 4 conditions. And by understanding how you are implementing each of these essential practices, it allows you to improve your capacity to diagnose and correct the systemic issues that are undergirding the performance challenges. So while you may have some challenges with the level of achievement in math, exploring and rating your implementation of the essential practices allows you to understand some of the systemic issues that are impacting that math achievement data. And from there, it increases your efficiency and your efficacy because you know where to direct your efforts. We talked about collecting data, and it's an important part of your needs assessment. Let's talk about some categories of data that you want to make sure you include in your needs assessment. First, we have student learning data. How are students doing? Next, we have school process data. So that tells us about the programs and the processes that produce the school and classroom results that we're seeing. To be honest, this is really the only measure that we have almost complete control over. For example, what are our instructional strategies that we're using? What's our grading policies? How do we observe teachers and give feedback? What's our leadership turnover? How about our master schedule? These are things that we have a little bit more control over. We also want to include demographic data. Who are we as an organization? It informs us about the system and the leadership. It helps us understand how students, for example, are disciplined and who is disciplined, who is identified, perhaps for special ed, for gifted programs, or higher level courses. Some demographic data to include would be student and teacher attendance. And the last category of data to gather is perception data. This tells us what people think about our school. Gathering perception data through surveys and focus groups from students, educators, and parents give us a well-rounded understanding of what people perceive about our organization. While I don't want to imply that education is an assembly line, I do want to use this assembly line analogy. When we have a product that comes off the assembly line with a lower quality than what we want, we don't blame the product. It's an opportunity for market research, for some quality control. If we look at student learning data as our outcome, as our product, if our student learning data isn't where we want it to be, we can't blame the students. We want to discover what types of data can help us uncover where in the process we need to address or improve. This is where we pull in our demographic data, perception data, and school process data. All of these pieces of data inform us of what we're doing that's leading to our outcome of student learning data. I'd like to share a resource that you can use to identify exactly what sources of evidence, what data you want to collect. This screenshot comes from the Essential Practices for Schools in Their Communities toolkit. And in just a minute, I'll show you exactly where to find that. Within the toolkit, you'll see each condition and each essential practice. The essential practice is listed along with a rubric that you will use to rate your level of implementation of this essential practice. But in order to do that, we don't go by our gut. What we do is collect sources of evidence. Down in the bottom right-hand corner is where you will see all of the different sources of evidence that you need to collect in order to have an objective view of where you are in the implementation of this strategy. Here are the steps of the needs assessment overall. Gather and organize your sources of evidence. Analyze those sources of evidence, then use that information to rate the implementation levels of each essential practice. Identify your strengths and challenges, and then prioritize 2 to 3 of those challenges to focus upon. Then explore the root causes of those challenges. Going through this process allows you to identify most clearly what you want to address. It allows this to become your work, not to be in addition to your work. So I have 2 next steps for you. 1, download the Essential Practices for Schools and Their Communities toolkit. You can do that through the QR code on the screen, or in just a minute, I'm going to show you where it lives on our website. Then gather with your leadership team, review this document, and start to plan your path forward. Let's go to the website. Here we are at the iu13.org/school improvement website. I'm going to click right here on Pennsylvania Continuous Improvement Resources. You will see over on the right-hand side each phase of the cycle of continuous improvement. So we're going to click on Set and Assess Needs. You're going to see a wide range of areas that you can click further into. Preparing for the needs assessment, the PA Essential Practices self-assessment, which has a link to go further. There are also protocols, toolkits and one-pagers, guides and learning materials, and learning modules. I'm going to highlight 2 areas, the toolkits and one-pagers. Right here is the toolkit that I was referring to, Essential Practices for Schools and Communities toolkit. In addition, I'd like to point out some learning modules. This was just an introduction. These learning modules help you understand the essential practices, how to use the essential practices. This module goes into conducting a needs assessment, selecting priorities, and information about conducting a root cause analysis. Thanks for tuning in to this video. If you have questions or would like additional support, please don't hesitate to contact us at pdecsi@iu13.org.